a lot of blokes who played in your era sort of regret, I think, that they think it's become a bit too sanitised?
Oh, look, to a degree it might be, but I mean, I think for the good of the game, it evolves. You know, you go from the 70s, the 80s, and 90s to 2000, 2010. The game evolves all the time, and most of the time it's for the better things. I mean, there's things that in the game where I just go, don't they pay holding the ball anymore?
We all say that.
It just that surprises me. But you know what, Mike? Football's a great game. I love the game. Sometimes I just feel like there is so much pressure on these young players today, and what's going on. You'd be surprised how many young players today. I mean, I think when I was playing football, I'd be watching every football show on TV. I think it's the complete opposite now. I think young players today, they couldn't care less, all due respects, what Mike Sheen thinks.
Nor did you.
But I just think the landscape's changed so dramatically, and it's because of the power of the press. And as I said before, it's a game of footy, and I just think that the press, in a lot of ways, got a lot to answer for with regards to not so much, you know, I use James Hird as an example. I mean, where's the duty of care for James's wife and children where they've got media people camped outside their house? I just think it's totally unfair, you know.
It's intrusive, you say? Yeah.
Totally intrusive, you know, like there are more important things there is more important things in life and matters that are going on. You know, we have women who are getting raped, murdered. It just astounds me that we continually, front page of the paper, when I whacked Matthew Knights, I was on the front page. There's a war going on in Afghanistan. There are people, you know, the split between, you know, what's news and what's football news is too dramatic on one side with football. And unfortunately, I think, when I say from the media point of view, the media have a duty of care to sort of say, it is just a game of footy. But
it's not just a game of footy.
I know it's not just a game of footy, but there are more important things in life that are going on.
I think we all agree with that. But hang on. But people, the society, I worry about society today because, and I know this football show's going on left, right, and centre, and that's great for the rank and file supporter. But we've got to put things into perspective. So, are you fearful about the scrutiny, the media scrutiny on the minds of young players?
Yeah.
And the intensity of it?
Yeah, I think it's going a bit overboard. I think it's getting too personal.
Is your view coloured by how cynical we were about you at different times of your career, and the fact that Tom Liberatore got into trouble last year?
From my perspective, no, because I always looked at football as that's just my job. I just go and play football. You know what? The football, you journalists and people who write about football is people who write about opinion and not fact. That's all it is, an opinion. The problem is with the rank and file supporter. If Mike Sheen has an opinion about something, you know what the rank and file supporter says? That must be true. Buddy Franklin's getting $12 million for a year. You might know that as a fact, unless it's factual. That's the only time I think when people. Yes, I know people have got opinions, but what I'm saying to you is that the rank and file supporter out in footy clubs believe everything that someone says.
But all big stories are progressive stories, Tony. I mean, we don't just go from Buddy Franklin exciting interest from GWS to the announcement one day that he's gone there for $12 million. There are degrees, there are events along the way, and we try to keep people abreast of those, don't we?
Yeah, I know, you do, but I still think I don't know, there's so much innuendo and so much gossip going on.
Tom made a mistake, to use your vernacular.
Yeah.
Made a mistake 12 months ago.
Yep.
Got himself into the headlines.
Yep.
Was linked with an illicit substance. And the police, how did you think that was handled?
At the time, by whom?
By the Bulldogs, by the police, by the media.
Look, I think from the club perspective, we sat down. He got his punishment, and we moved on. I'm not too sure. He wasn't charged by the police, so I'm not too sure.
But they were involved, were they not?
No.
They weren't?
No.
How did the story get out?
Well, probably from one of your colleagues.
We don't trawl King Street, Tony, looking for stories.
You sure about that, Mike? Oh, geez. Look, as I said, he made a mistake. We've moved on. We're very proud of him. And
you should be. He's a star. There's no doubt about that. And he plays his footy. He's got a magnificent temperament. He's brave. All the things that we love in football. Do you think that incident set him back or helped him mature? What's your view about that?
I probably helped him mature to a degree. Yeah, it's both. It's set him back and helped him mature. And like Jay and I sat down with the club and we discussed about a few different issues, and we've moved on from that.
You must be immensely proud of what he's done. I mean, he's come in as a father and son. Your relationship with the Bulldogs was a bit strained at different times.
Yeah.
He ultimately ended up at your old footy club, and he's done so well.
Yeah, he has. He's done really well. I mean, I think the way we have a terrific coach in Brendan McCartney, who's I look at him as a coach very similar to the young players. He's learning all the time. Football clubs is a cycle, and you have your ups and you have your downs, and it's exciting times. And I'm really happy for the club as a group. Yeah, and Tom, and Mitch Wallace and Clay Smith and all the really good Luke Dalhouse, and there's some just terrific kids there, and it's exciting. And I love getting there and watching it.
Take you back to your Brownlow year. You wreck your knee in round 19.
Yep.
You missed 3 games. You play round 1 the following year.
Yep.
I mean, there's an unbelievable rehabilitation. Is that because you did the work, or is it?
Yeah. Look. Undoubtedly, and whatever you do in life, not only in football but in work, in your vocation, the harder you work, the easier it gets. And I pretty much, even my second knee, when I came back within 12 or 13 weeks. I was riding a bike the day after I got out of hospital,
really?
Because I wanted to get back, and I probably didn't care about my body as much. I sort of thought to myself, look, especially the second time, like I was 32 or something like that, and I said, look, if it goes, so be it.
So the gap between injury and return at senior level was how many weeks?
The second time, 12 weeks, 12 or 13 weeks, yeah. So
no one else has been able to match your recovery time.
I don't think so, but yeah, you have to want to do it.
Except those big quads sitting above the knee,
It's a beautiful pass that Mama Maria used to give me.
Tony, 13 finals, one stands out, doesn't it?
1997, the famous point.
Preliminary final, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you kicked the point. Let's set the scene here. You're 23 points up and looking safe against Adelaide. You kicked the point that, and we'll see it here. There's you being shared.
Most celebrated point in history.
Well, it probably was, actually. Now, were you trying to con the goal umpire? Did you believe it was a goal?
Look, I believed it was a goal.
You still believe it was a goal?
Yeah, look, I thought it was a goal. Brad Johnson was standing on the goal line and he swore black and blue that it was a goal. You know what? It's like a decision that umpire makes. Wrong decision, bad luck, move on.
Do you think the disappointment of that decision, did that distract the team, do you think? I mean, sometimes you can focus on what's just happened rather than sort of picking it up.
I don't think so, Mike. No? I think there was a lot of other incidents that happened after. That was earlier on in the last quarter. I mean, I think Mark West ran in open goal and missed. I think Chris Grand and kick got smothered on the line. Oh, Jesus, so many other things. But that year was probably if I sort of say the best year of footy and the worst year of footy, because in '96 we finished pretty much last. Fitzroy were out of the competition, I think, the year after, and we just had this whirlwind year where we had some just wonderful players and wonderful competitors, and we were feared from the opposition teams, and that's what it was. A great feeling, I must say.
Liberatore Ramiro Di Martina. You were known as the WOG squad, and you were proud of it, weren't you? But you were at the time, yeah.
Yeah, no, we were. Don't say that. Jose doesn't like that word, but anyway.
Doesn't he?
No.
Sorry, Jose.
Yeah, look, I guess we owned a wine bar together as well at the time, and I think we felt something like out of Goodfellas, like Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci.
I think you thought you were, yeah.
I think we thought we were, but look, it was a great time. Look, I don't know how it all evolved, but it was just something that the media picked up and ran with it, and it was okay by me. It didn't bother me. Post
your playing career, Tony, you go to Hawthorn, coach the Box Hill Hawks.
Yep.
Then you end up at Carlton as part of Brett Ratton's team.
No, Dennis Pagan's team.
Yep. You leave Carlton 2007, correct? 2008, you're back in the headlines.
Yep.
For implying strongly that Carlton hadn't been trying in certain games at the height of the tanking issue.
Okay, yep. Okay.
You backed away from that, did you not?
No, I didn't back away from that. Players will always try on the football ground.
That's a given.
Yep. So that's where the misconception about tanking is they were managed in a different way.
Yep.
Now, that I still believe that's something that occurred. I mean, we had things that were put in place. We had players who, at the time, were told, don't play for the rest of the year. The last 3 or 4 games, you've got an injured shin or whatever. And to me, that's tanking, isn't it?
Well, let's be clear here. I agree with you. No one, even those of us who have thought tanking existed, have ever said the players weren't trying. What we say tanking is a football club constructing a team that won't play at its best. Like either leaving blokes out, playing them in odd positions,
well, that's it then.
Or taking them off the ground.
Well, that's it then.
Did that happen at Carlton?
Yes.
It did?
Yeah.
So, for clarity here, are you saying that when you were at Carlton, there were days when Carlton weren't doing everything in their power to play at their best?
Well, if you're pulling players off the ground, like Brendan van Vol at certain times, then I'd say yes.
Did the AFL come to you and explore those claims?
Yes.
And did you stand firm on that, or did you back away?
Did I back away? No, look, I spoke to Rod Austin, who was working at the time for the AFL. I don't know if he still is, but...
No, he's not there anymore.
He's not there. I gave him an interview of what I saw, and that was it. And then he just basically said, well, that's okay, thanks for that. And the next thing you hear is it's via the newspapers that Carlton didn't tank.
So your view is still clear in your mind that there were times when Carlton didn't do everything in their power to win the game of footy?
Yeah.
Which we would say is tanking, correct?
That's when you use that word.
Are you disappointed?
Or list management.
Or list management. I would call it what you want. Who's the most difficult player that you've had to tag?
I'd tell you the player I admired the most. I mean, I actually had players that I loved playing against because we just went to war on each other and just he'd belt me, I'd belt him. It was Gary Hocking.
Yeah.
You know, I went to his last game, he went to my last game. I had a wonderful relationship with Gary, and I still do to this day. And I know he's doing great things at Port Adelaide. And but Buddha and I would just go hammer and tong at each other.
So you'd bash each other for 2 hours?
Pretty much, yeah.
And then embrace each other when the siren went?
Yeah, and then that was something we're both very similar. Like, I mean, but he was a class act, and not only he could win the ball and be strong, but he had beautiful skills, and the bloke's knees were shot to pieces. I remember his last game going into the rooms and still playing, and they at Geelong let me go in the rooms and just sort of wished him all the best. And I was playing then. I was still playing at the Bulldogs, and so was Gary, and that was his last game.
So you went to his last game?
I went to his last game just to see him get needles in his knee before a game, getting jabbed up, and it just blew me away, you know.
It's like 2 old boxers, isn't it?
Yeah,
just sort of saying there's this special bond you've got between
I've got
you.
enormous respect for Gary, and I went to his testimonial and he went to mine.
You're in the interchange squad in the team of the century at the Bulldogs. That must be a massive thrill for you.
Yeah.
I was at that function. It was at the night when the Guernseys were sold of the players in the team?
Yes.
And your jumper brought the highest amount, correct?
Yeah.
Was it 48,000 or something?
Something like that, yeah. Sue Alberti, who's our vice president of the football club and a wonderful lady and does an enormous amount of work for juvenile diabetes and also for the football club, and she loved me. And
all the Bulldogs people loved you.
Oh, yeah, I know.
I'm not saying it was universal, but the Bulldogs people did.
Except the opposition players. I've got to tell you a funny story, Mike. Being a bit of a mouth on the football ground, I said to Michael Voss, he was killing us one day and he was beating me hands down. I said, Vossy, apart from myself, you're the worst Brownlow medalist in the history of the game. And Vossy laughed for a quarter. But, you know, things like that I did a lot of, you know, on the footy ground, and whereas probably media probably looked at other things and sort of said, like, I had a bit of a laugh on the ground as well.
How does Tony Liberatore want to be remembered for this eventful, colourful career?
Just a battler from the western suburbs, mate. Nah, look, just someone who believed in himself, who got the best out of himself, and who never gave up trying and giving his all for that wonderful football club, Footscray Western Bulldogs.
There have been times when I've been critical of things that you've done on the footy field, but everyone has to admire the fact that you were able to get 280 games out of your career, and your patience and your persistence. So well played and well done.
Thank
and
you.
keep enjoying Tom.
Cheers.
This has been a Fox Footy production for Fox Sports.